Dr. CB.
Yo,
What up?
we here.
We here with 2 mics?
We got 2 mics, man. We were at 4. We're down to 2.
Well, we still got 4 mics. They all just have different nuances to them. They're special.
2 aren't working
Yeah.
too well.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Mars is in retrograde based on the performance of our microphones.
I would 100% agree. Based on human behavior outside of the dunny and technological behavior inside of the dunny, Mars is in retrograde.
Yeah. I think the equivalent of Mars in another galaxy is also in retrograde based on how it's going.
So whatever is equivalent to Mars in every other galaxy is in retrograde.
Yeah. It's like all the Marses are in all the retrogrades.
100%. I think you're onto something. Because whatever is happening with this tech stuff in the dun-dun, there's only one explanation.
Yeah.
Mars everywhere is in retrograde.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Dude, so we are coming fresh off of that mindfulness joint, and we're going beyond flag again.
Beyond flag. Stoked for this one. Let's do some of them nice shouts. Get into that.
Yeah. Hashtag nice shouts,
Yeah.
dude.
Can I lead us off?
Yeah, I'd love for that.
A huge one. Inspirational one.
Yeah.
Sarah Hall. Just straight crushing that London Marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah. PR. Took second in the women's London Marathon. And beyond that, created a video clip that I think will go into the ages. Like, just held on to. Legendary.
Yeah.
Just this massive kick at the end.
I don't know how you feel when you watch that, but for me, it's like so inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
Like watching someone kick it into the gear and just understand like what is going on mentally and physically for that person at that moment, and then to perform at that level. It's so cool to watch.
Yeah. It'd be so cool to hear about it. I wonder if we could ever get a chance to interview her. It'd be really cool to hear about it because it seems like at that point, the mental has to kind of take over and will the body beyond what it's doing. So
yeah,
really
and I feel
powerful.
like you could watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Something clicked.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing.
So, nice shout, Sarah Hall.
Nice shout, Sarah Hall. Well done. Long time flag res. Been training in Crested Butte and then pulled out that performance.
Yeah.
Rad. Next nice shout, man. Longtime Flagstaff resident and community staple. Cosmic Ray. He passed on this past week.
Yeah.
So founder of Cosmic Cycles. Bike shop's been here since the early 70s.
Yeah.
You could see Ray all around town. He had a couple books. I think it was 50 Favorite Hikes in Sedona and Flagstaff. And then Fat Tire Tales and Trails by Cosmic Ray, man. So he passed on this past week and is also renowned throughout the town for posting up at Macy's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely put his stamp on this area, right?
No doubt. Yeah. So we wish Ray the best. Many trails in the next step.
Yeah, many trails.
Many trails.
Yeah. Next one, nice shout. Carrie.mcp on the IG.
All right.
Yeah, she shouted us out. So Brightside Book, local staple, great store.
That's where you get things.
Posted on podcast day, asked for people on IG to list their favorite podcasts. Carrie.mcp was feeling very generous and shouted us out.
Beyond Flag?
Yeah, put us on there.
Charity?
Put us on the map.
She writing that off for the year?
Niceties. So shout out, Carrie. Thank you.
Damn, thank you. Yeah, hashtag niceties from Carrie.mcp on the IG, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the alphabet soup. I like them.
Just throwing in them CDAs.
Yeah, and speaking of CDAs, dude, I got one more for today.
All right.
B-Dot.
B-Dot.
I got a B-Dot, man.
What's B-Dot?
Yeah, B-Dot's a bitchin' day of tunes.
I know what you're talking about.
September 25th?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened?
A lot of music drops.
Holy
a lot of music drops. A lot of old school music drops for them middle-aged men.
I know. It was like a blast from the past, man. So 3 albums came out that are all within the realm that kind of represent different times in life, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Public Enemy.
When
the Grid Goes Down. Holy moly. Flavor Flav's got to be like 95 years old now. But he's doing it.
Yeah, maybe not chronologically, but developmentally.
He's there. But man, what a great album. And then one of my favorites, man, the Deftones.
Oh, yeah.
Deftones put out a new album. And then someone who we've talked about on this pod.
Yeah.
The Idols, man.
Yeah.
They dropped a new album all on the same day. It was a little overwhelming for me.
Yeah. Well, the Idols I knew was coming. And the other two were a complete shock.
Yeah.
Complete surprise. But
I feel like they all just got on a FaceTime together and were like, yes, 25th.
those three?
Chuck D, Joe Talbot, and Chino Moreno. Yeah, man.
Can you imagine those three hanging out? Chuck D, Chino, and Joe?
And Joe. It might be something from my dreams, honestly.
Oh, man.
If I could hang out with those three.
Dialogue would just be intense.
It'd be so great.
Good stuff.
Great stuff. So, yeah, we had to point out that B dot because that September 25th isn't something that happens very often.
Yeah.
That's like 1990, what was it, 3 or 4? Wu-Tang and Tribe Called Quest putting out an album on the same day. Like, that's unheard of, man.
It harkens back to that day. Yeah. I don't know that I'm going to go that strong yet, but big day.
I'm there.
Okay.
I'm there. It's a big day for music.
So now we got a couple of CDAs in here.
Yeah. We got that B dot and the DOS.
Who we going to be on flag with?
Oh man, for this show we're going to be on flag. Vince Sherry.
St. Vincent de Sherry?
St. Vincent de Sherry, who is the CEO, president, owner operator, maybe even the DOS.
The director of strategy?
Maybe even the director of strategy of Team Run Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Vince grew up in New York and attended college at University of North Carolina, Charlotte. He was a collegiate runner who graduated with a degree in education with plans to be a middle school science teacher.
Shout out, Vince.
Wowzers. Yeah, that is Mars in retrograde type dreams. Huh?
Yeah.
Whew. At any rate, ended up in Flagstaff somewhat by happenstance, but has developed a strong connection to the run community in this area over time. Stays connected to running in various ways and has moved on from the collegiate track, but continues to get out running, mostly on the trails. Has a deep awareness of what he termed the fragmented run history of Flagstaff with connections to contemporary runners in the area. And most notably, Vince helped to organize the Run with Rivs challenge in support of Tommy Rivers Puzey.
Yeah. That was really cool to hear about the origins of that, the ideas for that. There was a lot of intentionality for how they approached that.
Yeah, potentially where it's going.
Yeah. Let's go beyond flag with
Vince Sherry. Welcome to Beyond Flag, a Beyond the Pines production, created by, with, and for the people of Flagstaff, building connection in the town we love. We are your hosts,
Dr. Daniel J. Phillips
and Cody Bayles, also known as Dr. Chinchilla Nice Nice. Thanks for tuning in as we go beyond flag, straight from the dunny of our observatory. All right, Dan, guess what, man? We're in the dun.
I know we're in the dunny. We're sitting way too close to each other.
Dude, just violating the CDC rules right now. Yeah. I'm closer to you in this room than I ever thought I would be.
Yeah.
Would ever want to be, also.
You know, I've wondered how much would I pay for a mic, and today I'd probably pay a few $100 for a mic.
I'd pay way more just to get some distance. Yeah. At any rate, so we're sitting here with St. Vincent de Sherry today. So Vince, thanks for coming through.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me over.
Yeah. And you've been super gracious with us on this process thus far.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
This has been the most entertaining part of my day, hands down. So thank you guys. It's been excellent.
Yeah, no doubt. To give our listeners a little context, maybe you'll see this in some of the photos, but we had a microphone go out. And given our level of technological expertise, our only solution is that Dan and I could sit 2 feet from each other and use the same mic. So here we are.
The worst case scenario.
Gosh, so I'm practically looking at Vince through the back of my head.
Super glad that he's here.
Yeah. So again, Vince, thanks for coming through. We just kind of want to start with life as it is now. So just being the owner, operator, or president, is that right, of Run Flagstaff? And then technically president?
Technically president, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for legal purposes.
Okay, to satisfy the attorneys. Can you tell us what life is like right now, running the business in a pandemic, and just how things have been for you?
Yeah, our experience currently is that we've fallen into a pretty good routine. So, what was sort of an odd protocol for us a few months ago has become a very normal protocol. The process of wiping things down, keeping distance, wearing masks, communicating with customers. It's interesting for how hectic things were a few months ago, how that's just become a normal part of daily business. So I think that now, for what it is, there's a bit of normalcy to it for us day to day. It's not something we think super hard about. It's just part of the routine.
Yeah, gotten your groove down.
Yeah. We were fortunate. We were able to remain open through the worst of it, which in and of itself presented a lot of its own challenges. It was good to be able to continue to do business. We needed to be able to do that for the size of our business and how long we've been in business. But that was also very nerve-wracking and challenging. But at this time, it gave us time to settle in and work our way through the processes.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that nervousness and the challenge that it posed when you first learned about all the restrictions and that kind of thing that were taking place?
Yeah, it was interesting from the perspective that I think everybody was caught off guard by the seeming lack of rhyme or reason as to why some businesses were allowed to remain open and while some businesses were closed. I couldn't have made sense of that myself. We were allowed to remain open because we fell into the outdoor recreation category, which was deemed essential. While we felt fortunate to be in that category, it also put a lot of extra responsibility on us to do it in the most thorough way possible, because the guidelines and the restrictions at that point were loose. You were closed or reopened, but how you operate open was not super clear to us. So we saw businesses, Absolute Bikes next door did it a little bit differently than we did things. So you could literally be you could enter two businesses in the same parking lot and have to follow an entirely different protocol. Mm-hmm. Mountain Sports around the corner had closed on their own accord. And when you look at the variance from business to business and the solutions that we were able to apply ourselves, that actually, it made the responsibility much, much larger than it would have been if somebody just handed us a set of guidelines and said, here, just do, this is what retail businesses are doing, do this. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like that. It was really open and loose, which leads to a very large customer interpretation of whether or not you're doing that successfully, right? Mm-hmm. Whether or not you're doing it successfully was judged by the person you were serving in that moment. We heard things from customers about how glad they were that we were open, that they could come do business with us. We got very little feedback, but we did receive some feedback from a couple of very regular customers that were extremely disappointed that we were open at all and felt that was entirely irresponsible. Which was obviously extremely hard to take. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad we're past that point. Yeah. Things are a little clearer now. Yeah. But at its most intense, that was kind of what we had to work through to do this successfully. And there are concerns for staff as well. We were open. It's a pretty high exposure. Does that endanger our staff and our customers going to abide by the policies that we've put in place and follow them accordingly? And that was nerve-wracking as well. So it was a challenge.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you. It seems like you guys have turned a corner with it or found
Thanks.
A groove the way you describe it.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. I think beyond that too, like you've really been able to develop a culture in Flagstaff around running is what it seems also.
Yeah, it's I've never quite been able to wrap my head around that idea. It's such a strange thing. If you guys ever get a chance to interview Nat White, you should absolutely do it. Nat's been here a long time. He raised his son, Andy. Andy's kids grew up here, And Nat was in this generation of running community that came through Flagstaff in the 60s. And you would hear Nat tell these stories about, it's like, oh, we were the first to do this, or the collective group that I would be in would say that, right? But that's happened multiple times here. We lose track of the history, and it's odd how segmented the Flagstaff running history, how chopped up it's become over the years. It's not been this really smooth, linear thing. But I saw a picture posted to Facebook the other day of a race outside of what would have been the old Babbitt Sports. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With a big Brooks banner. It's 1988, huge Brooks banner, all that. I'm like, I recognize some of these guys. These guys are still, and we would have thought like the Downtown Mile was like the first ever road race, or in Flagstaff, or the Hospice 10K, 5-10K or something. But it's not. There were all sorts of things that preceded this stuff and just kind of came and went. There have been elite athletes training here, to my knowledge, since at least the 60s. Yeah. And even now, the running community here. It's interesting because you can put the name Run Flagstaff on a store and put the building downtown, and it's like, wow, the running store. But in a lot of towns, that's true, the running store. But man, there are so many people that have been involved in stuck around the last 10 to 15 years to build it into what it is now. It's we get some credit for that, which I think is nice for business, but it's kind of not entirely accurate. I don't think to our benefit, but yeah, it's been a lot of people working hard and a lot of people behind the scenes putting in some stuff. So we're a good hub, but it's been a huge community effort.
For sure.
Being humble.
I was thinking, it sounds like there's an opportunity for research here. We could get a historian to collect a nice narrative of Flagstaff running history.
Nat's the guy. He could sit here and
Nat.
tell you off the top of his head till tomorrow. I mean, the stories. Every time I've ever bumped into him, he has another one for me I haven't heard.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool stuff. I think whether you run or not, just his history of town. Is great.
That would be really cool to hear about. Part of me listening to that wondered if your motivation to make that work came from thinking the alternative would be teaching middle school science.
That was exactly my thought too. It's like I can't think of anything more miserable.
Well, anything that would be more motivating, right? Every day you're just gonna go out and grind 24/7.
I would never say that. Teaching's a wonderful profession.
It is.
Yeah, lots of benefits.
No doubt. Middle schoolers, though, huh?
It's super hard, man.
Oh, yeah. Trench work.
Yeah, good for you.
Totally.
Yeah.
No doubt. I was also wondering, so kind of going along with current culture, Flagstaff running, who are some of the other people in town that you feel like you're working pretty closely with or side by side with on either races and just other things going on in the running community?
Yeah, so the Flagstaff Summer Series has been a staple here for a long time. So the race directors of that series, some have been very, very steady and some have changed over the years. But the Summer Series was my initial exposure to running in this town. That was the local race scene, 14 years ago. And a lot of those races remain super relevant now. Neil Weintraub, who is the founder of NATRA, Northern Arizona Trail Runners. Neil's been here a long time and put a ton of work into the community and the foundation. And, the cool thing about it is, even though Neil preceded us, he's always been super open and welcoming. And that crew was on the earlier end. Gail Hughes actually did a lot of work. Gail had owned her own timing company and registration company. And she's kind of like one of the quiet people that work in the background and do a lot of the technical things, but made a lot of advancements in chip timing and online scoring in places that you could see the results. And that kind of started to grow the small town racing scene here into this more known, like the downtown mile wouldn't have had the live results without her initially. We timed those races now, but she started that, right? Mike Smith over, the head coach over at NAU. Mike and I moved here within 2 weeks of each other. Oddly enough, we'd raced each other through high school and college, and moved without ever speaking a word to each other. I mean, we went back and saw photos of each other racing since we were 18. It's amazing. You can still find there are two left on the preliminary internet. It's not even like the internet today, but when they just scanned everything and uploaded results,
Right.
It's on PDF. So there's still some. So it was funny when Mike and I first moved to town. It's like you'd get a email like, "Hey man, beat you," and it would just be some old race result. We didn't, it's just an old irrelevant thing. We still do that from time to time. But Mike,
do you have some you're hanging on to?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Good. A couple here and there, but
good for you.
Yeah, he can get me back every time. But Mike started Team Run Flagstaff through Altius, which was the Center for High Altitude Training back when Jack Daniels was in town. And Mike, when the Center for High Altitude Training shut down in 2009, they founded TRF, Team Run Flagstaff, in 2010. And that's sort of under normal circumstances, oftentimes specialty running stores will have their own run club. And the cool thing about Flagstaff is they have this whole other entity that operates with a board of directors. And you can go, be coached by the same guy that coached the NCAA cross country champions 2 years ago. So it's sort of a cool community thing that this place really prides itself on. And then there's a whole nother generation of runners that came in afterwards, that have stuck around. And I mean, you had Eric on, Eric and his crew, the Coconino Cowboys, that whole group. So it just, you can just see it continue to build and build.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting to hear that so TRF coincided with you moving on to Route 66 closely.
Yeah, so we moved on to Route 66 and changed the name from a Runner's High to Run Flagstaff in September of '09. I believe Team Run Flagstaff started running practices in March or April of 2010.
Okay, yeah, I guess I always thought those two things went hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting to hear.
It was, I mean, we had meetings and talked about it and went through the pros and cons of maintaining the name on both the store and the club. Yeah, but I mean, that group has evolved. Erin Stroud is the executive director. She writes for Women's Running Magazine now. She's written for Running Times, Runner's World. There are just all these people working on this stuff at a very high level in the sport in general, not even just in this town, but in the sport. And you go and show up and benefit to these things at a local level as a participant as if you were anywhere else, except the quality of what you're getting in that running community is so high as just an average participant in or a recreational runner or weekend. Well, like it's so much higher than any place I could think of just by the people who happen to gravitate toward this place for their profession.
I wonder, comparing it to some of your experiences, you mentioned running in high school and in college, and being from New York and going to UNC. How does running here compare to those experiences? Because you just said it's more elite or intense here than anywhere else you've been.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we used to joke when we would run the summer series races like 14 years ago that you could win your conference championship or qualify for NCAAs, but you couldn't win the hospice 5K. Right. So it was this thing where, you'd go run this race downtown. I mean, I'm sure you guys know Rob Crar, who's now, world renowned in the ultra running world. I mean, Rob was just a guy we used to race at Fort Tuthill on a Saturday. He was our buddy. Like that was like. But when you look at what some of these individuals have done both before and after that little window of time, I guess third was okay. It's like that seems all right in the context. So there's sort of that weird component at times, but then every group run I've ever gone to has been super welcoming, and everybody is pretty humble. And it's like, people joke all the time about, oh yeah, my neighbor's an Olympian, but if you lived 3 doors down from Janet Bauckham, she wouldn't tell you about her Olympic experience. She would just like hang out and talk about the season or what the weather's been like lately, or so it's a cool thing about the culture here is that like it has this intense edge if you're paying attention, but it's not in your face, and I don't think it's in an at all intimidating way. Like I don't we've had a lot of people even come into the shop, they're like, man, I was really intimidated to come in here. It's like, why? It's like, well, everybody that works here looks so fast,
They look fast.
Yeah, they just look fast. And I mean, I'm at a point in my life now where I've walked in the door and looked around. I'm like, man, I'm the slowest person by a long shot in this place. I'm like, I own the store.
But you got to stop hiring. The cowboys and that group.
you can't avoid it. It's some of its experience and who's available, but the response is always the same. It's once I sat down and started talking to the person I was working with, I was just like, I just forgot about that. They were great. Thanks so much for the help. And it's that's not unique to the store. That's just this place. And that's cool. I could name some other elite training towns where they do not have that reputation.
I have to agree 100%. Like I actually, I've been in there to the run store, and some elite runners are working, and it can be intimidating. And everyone's always been so friendly. I even remember one time where I went there looking at shoes, and a new model had come out, and the rep was there, and like, everyone was just like, oh, try on this new one. It's not here now, but give it a shot. It's just so welcoming and friendly, even though everything on the wall. And even I was thinking, as you were describing that in my mind, I was thinking about around the store I think you have stuff signed by Scott Jurek, and I mean, just other people world-renowned runners in
Yeah.
the store there, but the culture of it is to be really friendly there.
If you bumped into almost anyone that's ever thought to come by and like, sign the cover of their running times while they were passing through, most of the people that even think to do that are way more humble than you would expect. They're just way cooler, way more laid back than you would think.
Do you have an example of that? Do you have someone that comes to mind that you've met that maybe, I don't know if you've ever been starstruck, but maybe you were...
I've got a perfect example. So when I was coming up through high school, there was a runner named Bob Kennedy who was sort of he was the mid-90s guy. He was the first non-African to ever break 13 minutes in the 5K. Okay. And he was also one of the first Olympians that the U.S. had to like be a real contender. He was up there for that era. And I knew that he was around and in the running industry, and he's pretty far removed now, obviously. He doesn't really run anymore. He just looks like anybody else. He just looks like this guy when he was running on the Olympic, he had the gold chain and the full Nike uniform, and he was all kitted out. You wore shorts that were named as the Kennedy short, right? We had Kennedy shoes in college. So
did you have a gold chain that you would?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, in high school, shamingly. Well, yeah, I'm also from New York and a lot Italian, so it fit, man. It's not. Yeah.
You were gonna have a gold chain.
No matter what.
Or another.
Yeah, no matter what. Destiny. Totally. It's in my DNA. So he walked in the store one day, just passing through. I had no idea. I have no connection to him at all. I know a couple guys in town that had run with him in college and stuff, but I didn't know him. So yeah, for the first time I was like, oh, I was in the office and popped my head up. I heard the bell ring. I was like, oh, and a couple of the other guys, younger guys, were helping him. The one guy was qualifying for U.S. champs in the 3K. He was a good runner, but he had no idea who he was. It's distance running is very fickle that way at the elite level. These guys are gone for 10 years. Nobody ever, but so he's like, oh, can I help you? Like, this guy owns like 3 stores, was in the Olympic team, Nike sponsored. And here we've got Adam on the floor trying to help him with shoes, and one of our guys, Nick, came in and he's like, hey man, is that Bob Kennedy? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, let's see how Adam does for a while. We just kind of left him out there. He was great. It was so funny because I kind of wanted to see what he would do, and Bob was so nice, and he's like, no, man, I'm just looking and it's cool. Yeah, you guys have a really nice shop and we heard a lot about you, so we wanted to stop in. And he didn't mention anything. Yeah. And we let this go for like 10 minutes or something, and I came out, I'm like, hey man, here's a t-shirt. Can I get a picture with you out front? And Adam just looked at me just perplexed, like, what? Who? Why? And I was like, come on, man, that's Bob Kennedy. And he's like, who? I was like, just take a picture with him outside, So it was just a funny, it was just a funny kind of interaction.
How did he respond when you came out and said,
he smiled?
Can I get a picture?
Yeah. He smiled. Yeah, because I'm a lot closer in his age. So the last time I would have run at Stanford Invitational in college, he was there running the 10K. So I saw him. So we would have crossed over at some point. Yeah. He was super cool about it. Took the picture out front. I saw him at an event a few months later, and he walked by and he's like, hey man, I'm still wearing that shirt. It's awesome. I was like, thanks, cool. And that was my only, and that was sort of the thing too. I was just like, oh, cool. I was just, I was like 15-year-old high school kid again, I couldn't even say anything else to him. So yeah, it was kind of my example of anybody, Mo Farah's walked in the store before and taken pictures. I'm like, hey, what's up? No big deal. But yeah, it kind of depends on the space you're in at the time, I think.
Oh, for sure. That is a trip to think. And I really do think the culture there is so like open and friendly. I was thinking my first time getting on the treadmill, and just in my head about it, like, I'm really going to do like an ultra shuffle on this treadmill, and they're going to be like, and I'm going to be like, judge these shoes based on like my style and how, and so it was definitely reassuring to like have people that were engaged and interested and really helpful. To switch gears a little bit, I did want to chat. So you're talking about prominent running figures in the community, and Flagstaff friend Rivs Puzey has been going through it, and you were really involved with the Run with Rivs fundraising campaign. Was that right?
Dan, we back.
We back.
You selling dams.
Selling dams.
Yeah, I got something new. I got a hashtag curb alert.
Hashtag curb alert. I love that.
Hashtag curb alert, man. Double wide love seat that reclines, exclamation point. Free, comma, curbside pickup. This well-loved double wide love seat that reclines needs a new home. The back is a little worn, but the couch is still functional. This comfy seat is yours if you're willing to pick it up. I'll take this post down when it's gone. Here's the thing that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It says the back is a little worn,
Yeah.
but the couch is still functional. It says the condition is fair.
Ooh, I think he's underselling it.
Absolutely underselling this joint.
Yeah, check it out because it's a little worn. I think is a good term for it, but it's not bad at all.
It's not bad at all.
Still intact. It's just a little worn down.
If you were to make a good clinical judgment about the condition of this couch, what would you say?
Oh, I'd say fair to good at a minimum.
Fair to good at a minimum.
Yeah.
Maybe dip your toes in excellent.
Yeah, it's like the back is just faded a little.
It's just a little faded. Go get down.
So don't let that deter you. Check out the post ID 719-908-1219. Hashtag curb alert.
Curb alert. Get dams.
Get dams.
And you were really involved with the Run with Rivs fundraising campaign. Was that right?
Yeah, that's right. The specific division of it. So there are two prominent ones. The GoFundMe page, which has been up for quite a while, and we didn't play a role in. I mean, we donated to that, but I didn't have any role in that. The thing that we created was the Run with Rivs virtual challenge, and that's what we were working on here in town and through the shop.
Yeah, and so do you mind sharing a little bit about how that came up as an idea, the process of developing that, and then what y'all have been able to produce too?
Yeah, sure. So Mike Smith and I were at the gym one morning talking about River's situation, and we'd been talking about it, every day, kind of how he was doing and looking for updates. And in the early stages, that was how you find someone that had talked to Steph, and then it kind of goes down the chain and you get the updates that way. So Mike had quickly said, we should do something. I was like, well, there's the GoFundMe page. What do you think? And he's like, man, could we do like some kind of event or something? And the virtual racing thing right now is obviously big because of COVID. All those races got shut down and a lot of the events have gone virtual to sustain their income. So I thought, well, we could try a virtual event and see how that goes. And the more we discussed it and the more we thought about it, when you're discussing about someone in that situation that's going through that struggle, I think that, and even if you're just inspired by him or you followed some of his videos and stuff, I think that you care at a level that's a little bit beyond some story that you just heard. You know him, and it's like, man, how can we help? And funds were being raised, so that didn't seem like quite enough. But you could see that this common thread was that it seemed like people wanted to take some kind of physical action. You could see that there's something about, obviously, his personality and the way he inspires people to get out. You're like, man, I just want to do something. Like, what can I do? And that was the thing. Up to this point, it just largely felt like there was nothing. You could check on them. That's it. So what that led to was this idea of Run with Rivs, that not only will we try and fundraise, but we would try and do that by extending ourselves physically in the way that he does on a regular basis. I mean, that's part of his personality. That's in his soul, right? Is to go out there and stretch himself and to press and push. And it felt like a cool way to honor him and honor what he was going through. And then the secondary thing was, if we could capture that would be something to archive and show to him once he woke up. Yeah. It's like, hey man, all these people out there were not only donating to this thing, but like now you can see like they were out there struggling through this in their own way. Mm-hmm. In trying to support and lift you and your family up in their own way. And it gave a physical release for that, mm-hmm. which I kept in touch with his brother Jacob throughout this process. This was my role. We had a lot of people involved in putting that together and making that a reality. Ben Rosario from Northern Arizona Elite was helping promote it. Gail Hughes was on the background helping build the site. With my assistance, Mike was helping spread the word and promote it as well. My role was trying to communicate with Jake, hey, is this okay? Do you guys feel all right about this? Where can we send the funds once we gather them? And it, through this, one of the things that Jake had said was, and Jake went all out. I mean, he went 9 days doing something like 24 miles a day to duplicate one of the runs that Rivers had done. And Jake had said that prior to that, he was having trouble getting out of bed. I mean, this was leveling him. So it was just cool to see that response from people like, yes, now this feels like something we can do. This feels like a way to help. And the great thing about it was that it extended beyond the network of just the running community, because people that don't know of Tommy, maybe don't run and don't know his story and don't know him as a personality in the fitness community, they know the people that were doing those runs on his behalf, and they care about those people. So if you can get, someone's running for Tommy, but then their mom donates and their aunt donates and their brother donates, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, now you sort of like extended this reach a little bit. So that helped us generate more revenue and more presence.
The reach, or the maybe the influence, like it seems like it spanned the globe.
Continues to even.
And even now, how much, because I think we had reported after those first 9 days, was it August 1st to August 9th? We reported, I think, that y'all had raced like 180 grand.
Yeah, this was good timing. They established the trust, and I sent a check. I've never done this in my life. I mailed a check for $194,000 yesterday to go to that fund. And there's still, it's wild. The event's been closed, but we left the donation button open for people that maybe made the pledges late. And there's just still these donations trickling. We haven't promoted it in a month and a half. And I think that there's another check coming for like another $1,500 or something. It just still continues to kind of like trickle in, which is pretty cool. The GoFundMe has far, far, far surpassed that. I was really proud of what we were able to accomplish. I think that that's one of the single most meaningful things we've been able to do through the shop and as a community as well. To be able to just lend a hand and be part of that and have that outreach was cool. That's one of the best things we've done.
Yeah. Aside from the monetary part of it, I think you did a very good job of like articulating that there was like this need for kind of a release valve, some cathartic expression, and the idea you guys had for people to come in contact with the world the way that Rivers does, by going out and pushing themselves and seeing new places, or just pushing themselves in tough parts of the world, was really valuable. It's powerful to see the connection of that. I've been blown away by the expansive nature of it. So thanks for all that effort you put in.
Yeah, of course. It was I was really happy we were able to do it.
For sure. And from here, is it just kind of like you're saying, that donate button is still open if people wanted to go there? Are there any other like pushes or anything on the horizon for?
Not unless we were prompted by Tommy or his family. One of the things that we tried to honor, and the reason we reached out to Jacob about it, was not only to make sure it was okay with their family, but also because Tommy had expressed in his wishes, in his last set of videos on Instagram, that there are, other people suffering through the process of COVID, and, particularly, our neighbors in the Native American community have been hit super hard by this. And he wanted to make sure that he was trying to use his platform to help them too. I haven't talked to anyone about it yet. I'm hopeful that he comes out of this in the best way possible. I'm hoping we can do something like this again, but to donate for another cause, kind of to his wishes, I have no doubt that when he and his family get on their feet, they're gonna find a way to pay it forward. I mean, that's just how they are, So yeah, I'm hopeful that he's just solid enough that it's not even necessary. Next time you hear about this, it's from him.
Yeah, I think that's impressive. And listening to you speak about it, there's this humility about it. But it's clear that you and your store have a role in the culture here, and that being an example of that. So it's powerful to hear about. I wonder about coming back to the store then. What is the vision for the future? I think you guys are expanding currently, right? What do you foresee?
All right, Dan, we back. We selling names.
Selling names.
Selling names. What do I got? I got a 36-inch capital I, capital D times 5-foot concrete culvert.
So 36-inch
Yeah.
by 5 foot. So
We could probably go ahead and just convert that into feet. We'll call it 3 foot by 5 foot.
or else 36-inch by 60-inch.
Yeah, we could do that. Or it could be 3 foot by 60-inch.
So it's a concrete culvert, you
Yeah.
said?
Need a culvert?
I don't know that I do.
Question
What
mark?
is it? What is it essentially?
A culvert looks like something that a stream would pass through,
It's like a tunnel.
like a tunnel. But it's a
Okay.
small one. It's 36 inches by 5 feet.
Or 3 feet by 5 feet, or 36 inches by 60,
60.
inches.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, you got it.
I'm with you now. So, do I need one? I don't think I do, but someone might.
Yeah, because these people have one for you. But guess what? It is heavy.
Are you saying it that way because they use caps for it and heavy?
Yeah, followed by a period. And so if you want to come get this joint, you got to make sure you have everything you need to load and transport it.
Is that your comment or is that theirs?
That's theirs. My thing is that what might we need? I'm assuming the Ford Tesla Express isn't going to cut the job.
I don't know that it would.
No,
A
definitely
3 foot by 5 foot culvert. I don't think the Ford Tesla Express. I don't know. You got that hatch though.
Got that hatch, man. The image of
Couple
this
of
thing
rat-
hanging out the back of the Ford Tesla.
Yeah, get you a couple of ratchet straps. You might be okay.
Strap that joint down, I'll be all right.
All right.
You got
So
a post
maybe-
ID?
Yeah, you guys got to beat Cody to this one.
Mhm.
Hashtag Curb Alert. Post ID 718-699-9466.
Get dams.
What do you foresee?
Yeah, we had purchased Sedona Running Company from Adam and Lindsay Gifford a little over a year ago. We had a year left on that lease. We just moved the location from the Bashes Plaza down in Sedona to the roundabout between 89A and 179. So kind of a similar move in a way that we had done from the original Runner's High to Run Flagstaff. There are some parallels, just trying to get it in a more visible location and get traffic up. But also when we moved it, we went pretty hard on the build out and tried to make it something special.
Yeah.
That's in our plans. I think that there's a lot of potential for events in Sedona in the future. We had a couple of things on the calendar that we've had to cancel because of COVID, but we still see that as a big part of our business moving forward and to try and just work on it, kind of bridging the gap between the community of Flagstaff and the community of Sedona and making this the running destination, you know, between those two places. I've met people that have come to Flagstaff to run and people that have come to Sedona to run. It just seems like if you make it this far, you can't miss the other, you know? Just trying to like close that loop and make this region, you know, the spot to come as a big part of our business plan moving forward and really solidify that mark on the region is what we're looking to do. I think that Sedona in some of that area has been a little bit underserved and there's some potential there. And then in terms of Run Flagstaff, we're just looking to continue to build on what we've been doing, you know, just continue to chip away and make everything a little bit better as we're able to, you know, make the events a little bit higher quality as we're able to, offer better timing services as we're able to. The expansion in trail footwear has been incredible the last couple of years, which has really played to our shop, and it's really cool to see that development. So continue to just bring in stuff people haven't seen before or maybe had the opportunity to try on before, that would really play well out in our unique environment, you know?
No doubt. I was wondering, so like running in a lot of ways represents business. That's how you generate revenue. I guess I want to get a little bit into like your heartfelt connection to it. And it sounds like you were talking about running growing up, like running cross country and that sort of thing. Can you talk a little bit about your connection to running, what role it has in your life?
Yeah, it's ever changing. Oddly, I think one thing that running has instilled, well, I think it's for many runners, but certainly instilled in me was just the work ethic. That kind of idea that if you really pour your effort into something, there's a return. There are a lot of sports when you're young that are kind of skill based, and that clicks or it doesn't, you know. And running for me especially was different because I could see the benefit of putting the time in. I was also kind of a wild kid, and I see this in my son now, who's 2, as he disassembles our living room, you know, and wears his mom to the ground. He's a great kid, but but there's this energy about them that if you don't harness that, it's just like it could go anywhere, you know, at any time, in any direction. I was very much like that when I was young. Focus was a huge problem. So running gave me focus. It gave me a place to put the effort. It gave me a place to kind of prove my worth and value. It doesn't stick the way any of us would like it to, which is unfortunate. I turned 40 back in March. And it's interesting, as you age, there's sort of these milestones where you're like, oh, that doesn't come so easy. And then there's this other milestone where you're like, man, that's gone. You know, it's like there's doesn't come easy and you're not getting it back. And there's certain levels of certain levels that I've had to kind of reconcile that it's like, man, that's just not coming back. You know, there was a point where I could have hoped for it. But what's been cool about the shop is it allows me to express it in a different way. So I feel like I still have that in me, you know, that energy to put somewhere. My body won't give it to me in terms of athletic output anymore. I pay the price on that in a big way. So it's cool to be able to put the effort and energy and output into the business and into the community and continue to see just the growth and the benefit of that. I mean, we were down at the Sedona store building that shop out 3 weeks ago. And I probably spent, man, I don't even know how many hours just hanging speaker wire, you know, like something as subtle. I'm like, I feel like I've spent days hanging speaker wire, you know, it's just this weird, like strange, like my wife came in at one point and was like, why don't you pay someone to do that? I was just like, the budget, you know, it has to be done, you know, but that's a very like stubborn endurance athlete, distance runner trait, you know, and if you don't have a place to put that and it's in you, you're in trouble. It's just not going to come out in the most positive way, I don't think. So yeah,
especially not in relationship, huh?
No, yeah, especially not in a relationship. Yeah, so that's been my relationship with running, and I still run. You know, I still go to the gym. My racing days at any serious level are probably gone. Yeah. But I like getting out there. Yeah. You know, I like being on the trails, and I like spending my time staying in shape and being part of the community here.
I wonder if it was an evolution for you to. Were you always into trail running, or were you more focused on the track, and then did that evolve to the trails? What was that like?
Yeah, I never had success as a trail racer, you know, like I was definitely a track and cross country guy when I was young. I had a couple injuries coming out of college that made like trail racing very difficult, but my preference is always to run the trails. Like if I had a choice. Where I grew up in outside of Rochester, New York, we had some decommissioned trolley beds and the Erie Canal pathway. And that's what that was our trail. Here, that's Buffalo Park. Yeah. You know? In fact, Buffalo Park trail is more extreme. It's urban trail. Max, that's as technical as I ever saw. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a cross country course. You could run flat out on that stuff. Yeah. Very different technical skill set than what you see these guys like training for Western and Leadville and stuff. It's just totally different. Yeah.
No river crossings or boulders.
I fell in the canal once, if that counts.
I guess that does. I guess it does. Yeah. Was it because you were going so fast?
No. I was. Yeah. I wish it was.
So yeah, like that difference between growing up in Rochester, running the canal, running trails in Flagstaff. What are some of your favorite trails in Flagstaff? Do you feel like a particular connection to any one trail, several trails?
Yeah, Secret Trail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Secret and Sunset are the two that come to mind first. Coming off of Sunset down Brookbank, I don't know what condition that's in after last year's fire. If it's been rebuilt, I've been up Sunset, but I've not been able to connect to it. Yeah. Last I went up.
It's there. I mean, everything around it's burnt, but yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to go back and see that. Hands down my favorite, and obviously it's gone now. I'm curious to see if it ever comes back in any form, was Little Bear before the fire. Yeah. Like 2010, pre-2010. But yeah. I think Secret and Sunset are probably Jedi's pretty amazing. Yeah. As well. So yeah, those would be my top three now.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great trails.
Those are great trails to watch mountain bikers crash.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been one of those too, unfortunately.
Yeah. Those are great trails. Yeah.
So, real quick, what brought you to Flagstaff? You know, so we're talking a little bit about the connection to running. You talked about growing up in New York primarily. So, how do you make it to Flagpole from Rochester, New York?
Selling dams.
Selling M's.
Selling dams.
We back.
Yeah. Guess what I got for you?
What do you got?
I got bad gas.
Huh?
It's not what you think.
Okay.
So in Railroad Springs,
Okay.
it's written, I have 20 gallons of bad gas.
Dang. I had 20 gallons of them on the couch earlier.
That ain't a lie. Yeah. So this is a little different than your experience on the couch.
Yep.
He says, I have 20 gallons of bad gas. It sat for too long where I'm not comfortable running it in my truck.
Mm,
So he doesn't want to wreck his rig.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, gotta take care of that.
Take care of the rig.
Take care of the rig. So he says it might be fine for, he gives you a couple of options here.
Okay.
It's bad gas. It might be fine for a go-kart,
Makes sense.
bonfire,
Probably not here.
maybe not here now,
Not here now.
and then etc. So then he leaves it open for you to kind of just brainstorm how you could use this bad gas.
Many ideas for bad gas.
Yeah. So I see you all taking off with your great ideas for what you could do with this. Here's a little caveat.
Mhm.
The jugs aren't his, so bring your own containers and funnel so you can
Okay.
transfer the bad gas.
So if I need to go get this 20 gallons of BG, I got to take my own containers and my own funnel.
Yeah.
But then I can do with it
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
I want. That's
Yeah.
free gas.
Yeah. Also, I don't think this is a hashtag curb alert. I think you got to get in touch with him.
Okay.
So check it out. Post ID 719-402-2205.
Get dibs.
Get this.
How do you make it to Flagpole from Rochester, New York?
Yeah, so via Charlotte, North Carolina, apparently. So I went from Rochester. I went to school at UNC Charlotte. I lived in Charlotte for a few years after, with a brief stint in Boone. My wife grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, so she was very much a mountain girl. Loved the mountains, and she received a job offer at Summit Center. So in 2006. So we moved out kind of for her to take, and that was right out of college. So that was her first, job, real full-time job. So we moved out for her to take a crack at that. And
Did she pick here to apply to? Like, how did that become?
No,
How
it
did that
was-
get on the radar?
no, Sarah graduated with a degree in kinesiology from UNC Charlotte. And when she graduated, she wanted to work in endurance fitness rehabilitation. It's a very specific field.
Yeah.
It was somewhat common in Charlotte because they had a pretty prominent triathlon and distance running community. In big city has resources for that. So oddly, there was a place called Endurance Rehab that just opened up in Scottsdale. It was brand new. She applied as, I think it was like a physical therapy assistant was maybe the official title. She applied. We flew there in July of 2006. I'd never been in the desert in my life. I remember getting off the plane and my contacts drying out of my eyes. So I just almost fell out of my eye sockets. I was like, God, I didn't say anything because I was trying to be the supportive. We were only dating at that point, so I could have lost her at any time. I was like, I can't, I got to be the supportive guy and just hang in. So, yeah, she interviewed there the next day. And the whole time I was like, man, I won't last 2 days down here. It's going to kill me. They offered her the job on the spot. So she got back in the rental car and she's like, yeah, they offered me the job. I was like, oh. And so anyway, that was how we got out here. It was so hot in Phoenix that we couldn't be there. So we're like, well, we've never been to the Grand Canyon. We've never been to Flagstaff. We knew it was running Mecca. Let's go check it out. And we drove up and we were driving around. I was like, you have your resume. Just go to Kinko's, make some copies and drop it off everywhere here. And that's what happened. She dropped it off at the Center for High Altitude Training, the Summit Center, Summit Health and Fitness, FAC. And the Summit Center needed a medical assistant and actually called her for an interview on our flight back to North Carolina. So, yeah. So that was it. That's how it happened.
Well, we're glad you made it out here.
Yeah, me too.
That's certainly staggering. Definitely a couple of things I want to cover before we wrap things up. I want to talk about that super bitchin' Run Flagstaff van.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell us the
Everybody loves
story.
the van.
No doubt. I love it. I get really excited when I see it around town. It's like
Yeah.
what used to be the ice cream truck for me
Right.
back in the day, and I see Run Flagstaff van now.
Right.
I get really pumped.
The van, so we started the timing business back in 2014. For 2 years, we timed out of everything from a tent to my Jeep Cherokee to a to a 5x8 trailer that we built in my buddy's driveway, all with mediocre to poor result. And one day I got fired up about this idea of the timing business being like this really cool thing, and let's build a van and we'll time out of the van and it'll be great for advertising. So totally it was almost on a whim. I went by the Mercedes dealership when it was over here on Schweitzer and met the manager there, asked him if he'd sponsor the downtown mile. He said yes. I was like, cool, we'll get like a red Mercedes pace car. That'll be sick. and then we were on the lot and I was like, Sarah, they have these vans. And she's like, oh man. She's like, I was like, let's look at them real quick. And we looked. I was like, what? These things cost like a pickup truck. What a pickup truck costs.
Yeah.
We'll just buy it and build it. I mean, we would have bought a truck eventually, you know.
Yeah.
We'll just buy one of these and build it.
Build it out.
So I went and talked to him, the manager, Greg, over at Mercedes, and I was like, hey, what do you think? And he gave me the whole spiel, man. It's like, oh, we'll make you a great deal and we'll sponsor the race. And I got caught up in the moment, and then we had a van.
I love that.
That's it. So I spent the next 3-4 months in my buddy's driveway, and instead of the trailer this time, we built a whole.
Built it out.
Yeah. I mean, till like 1 a.m. with flashlights, and it was brutal. That's a pre-dad job. For sure. There's no way this stage in my life I could pull that off. But yeah, that was it. That was the van.
Any decision making process that like with the prelude is I got caught up in the moment?
A lot. Yeah. Most of those things that happen. Yeah. Most big jumps that we make are caught up in the moment. Kind of. I'm trying to temper that with age, but sometimes it works out.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, in that case, for sure. If we got a real bitchin' Beyond Flag sticker made, I guess I'm wondering, how do you get your company on the van?
In year 1, we actually sold space. So all I had to pay for those rims, man. Those wheels and tires were pricey.
Dubs. So
that's right. Yeah, right.
Get them dubs flossed out.
Yeah, man. Those BFGs don't come cheap. So I sold some space. I told everybody it would be good for 2 years and then we'd re-up. Yeah. We never went back or re-upped it or charged anybody ever again. And those stickers will probably be on there till the sun bakes them off. So if you've got a sticker you want to put on there, it's good. It's on. It's done.
All right, you got that. We can get that in writing before you leave.
Yeah, we can get it. I've got real estate on there. You're good to go.
You might want to be careful. Cody will get like a crayon. Go pick up like one of those name tag labels.
Yeah, we've got standards. I mean, sky's not the limit. But,
Well, I'm giving you a heads up who you're dealing with here.
Dan knows me too well in this scenario. No doubt. So we had mentioned this before. I was wondering, what do you think of that setup over there? We got that Nike Wild Horse 6 on top of a couple books. When we had Senseman on, we really tried to throw our beta male weight around by stacking up a bunch of books. Yeah. We thought we'd make Vince maybe a little more comfortable. We didn't want to intimidate you like we did Senseman.
Just by throwing out an overused trail shoe.
I appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate it. I don't. It's a little tattered for display, but it shows you put the work in, and I respect that.
There we go.
You put the work in, and I respect that. Yeah. It's also the best color in that Wild Horse that they ever made. So you've got good taste.
Thank you. What are your thoughts on, I feel like when I put that shoe on, it was like the best shoe I've ever put on in my life. For running.
It actually, like, legitimately, I mean, we've carried every trail shoe in existence almost for the last, 14 years. That is one of the best trail shoes ever built. I mean, in terms of just pure performance and fit and feel, the second you put it on, it's just like right down the middle of the road. Yeah, you nailed it. It's a good choice.
Okay, cool. That feels good. I put that on next to a Pegasus, I think.
Right.
And I think I took the Pegasus right off. Didn't even last a second on my foot.
They're good. It's just it's a different deal. Yeah.
Very cool.
Next level.
Do you wear Nike, or do you have a preference shoe?
Yeah, I switch it up I've got some Nikes, Sauconys, and some New Balance in the rotation right now, and I really like all three of them for different purposes. Hokas are great if you're just mashing rocks.
Yeah.
You know, actually they make some really good light stuff now too. So my preference kind of varies, but I tend to stay within those 4 brands. That said, our most popular brand in the shop is Brooks. So go figure. I haven't run in a pair of Brooks shoes in 12 years.
But that's the one, huh?
But that's the staple. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, before we close things out, you know, we've in a lot of our previous interviews, we've talked about, so we really like to get into people's connection to Flagstaff, and we talked a little bit about the what Run Flagstaff has brought to the city. I guess I was curious if you could sum up in just maybe like a few words or even just a sentence or two, your connection to Flagstaff. What does this place as a whole mean to you?
I think much like the running question, that's ever evolving also. So, you know, initially when Sarah and I moved here, we looked at it as just like a cool place to try for a little bit. I figured we were here 2-3 years. Yeah. That was sort of my thing. I'm like, we'll try it for 2-3 years, you know, see how it is. After we got into the community and got to know everybody and, you know, ran the shop and opened the shop, it just started to become a place that we could see staying, you know, and just by default year after year. And I think inevitably, I mean, I think most people sooner or later have the discussion about moving on. You know, it's a natural progression. You always think about it. But every time we did that, I thought back to all the people I knew that moved and came back or moved and deeply regretted it. And we went through this long list of trying to identify what are those things about this town that when you move somewhere else, you're like, God, it's just not the same. And we did. We came up with like a real tangible list of very specific things. It's like, man, it would be really hard to find this combination somewhere else. The realistic accessibility to the outdoors every day is, I think it's unparalleled. I mean, there'll be days that, you know, we'll go hike and ski down Snow Bowl and I'm still at work in the morning. Mm-hmm. Anywhere else, it's a trip. That's like a week. You got to like load a car and, you know, it's a big deal. Same with mountain biking, same with running. I mean, I never drive anywhere to go for a run. And that we've lived on both sides of town. It doesn't matter where you live. It makes no difference, right? And now it's kind of evolved into this idea of having sort of a unique place for our son to grow up. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, what does this place have to offer him that he just couldn't experience as a kid anywhere else? And again, there's a pretty substantial list. I mean, it's a legitimate list of things that we could bring to his childhood that would be near impossible to duplicate any other, and would be truly unique, you know? So yeah, I think that more than anything, that's what it means to me. And what it continues to mean to me is just the things that this place has to offer that are just so unique in your just day-to-day quality of life are so off the charts, you know?
Yeah, we love this place. And everything that you said, I think just like falls right in line with what we talked about. Yeah.
And with the accessibility that's here, you'll be able to bring your son up, get him running some fast splits, and send those time to Mike Smith and rub it in generationally.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a generational competition.
Yeah. If there's one thing I live for, it's just giving Mike a hard time.
We'll make an Instagram quote out of that.
I love it.
If there's one thing I live for, it's giving
Mike
Smith a hard time.
That's
so
right.
Senseman's going for city council. Is Mike going to be mayor someday? Is that just some like inside joke?
No, I think that Mike has been mayor for probably the better part of 12 years. You know? That's not just an inside joke. I mean, I have. There was a time when we used to do running retreats in town, and Mike, when he was coaching at Georgetown, would fly back, and you know he was here in the summers. And I remember walking downtown with Mike, and you just hear somebody go, "Mayor's back," and I was like, "What, man?" Like, that's just some guy. That's not even like someone in the running community. That's just some dude that knows Mike from, I don't even know, man. I don't know where, but yeah, I think Mike is unofficial. In certain circles, Mike will be the unofficial mayor of Flagstaff for eternity.
All right. Yeah. And do you want to announce your city council bid?
I'm good, man. couple businesses, a kid. I'm solid. But I do wish Senseman the best of luck. Yeah. I think that's really cool. And he could do some great things for Flagstaff. So I'm glad he's doing it.
Yeah, no
You'll
doubt.
stick to wiring the store down in Sedona.
Totally, yeah. Speaker wire is my specialty. Stay right there.
No doubt. Well, Vince, we really appreciate your, first, your flexibility dealing with us two jackasses over here sharing a microphone.
You guys did great.
Thank you.
Couple of jackalopes. I love that he validates us. You guys are doing good.
You guys are doing
promise.
good. Thanks, Vince. We do. We honestly, we greatly appreciate you carving out some time in the day to come sit with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we wish you the best.
Thank you.
All right, Dan, we back in the dunny. I'm going to say, now that Vince is not here, I'm really happy to have my own microphone.
To not be sitting 2 feet from me.
That just was awful. Just violating CDC rules all over the place.
I can't say I disagree.
Dodging Corona like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Gosh, man. But here we are.
So give the listeners a little context. What was going on there?
So our technological prowess was on display, I would say. We'll start there. So
Vince had a front row seat
Vince had a front row
to
seat.
our IT department.
And it was really funny, just, hearing him validate and laugh and that kind of thing. You guys are doing great. But yeah, it was Dan got everything set up. We had our mics all good. Sat down to record, and literally mine just went out. It was
Wouldn't
done.
work.
It was done.
It wouldn't work.
Yeah. So in an effort to practice one of our values of flexibility,
Yeah.
we'll just roll with it.
We just rolled with it.
Yeah, we had Vince there, captive audience. It's hard to get people on the books.
We decided to roll with it after 20 minutes of trying to get it to work.
We tried so hard to make that mic work.
Trying to get that IT department to get that mic working.
Yeah, so we literally, I don't know if we got a good picture of this at all, but I was looking at the corner of the room basically, and you were looking at Vince. So we were looking in opposite directions using one microphone between us.
And just trying to avoid eye contact, direct eye
Gosh.
contact with that closeness.
Yeah, exactly. That would feel extremely awkward.
And then, like you mentioned a minute ago, the best part of it is Vince offering validating comments here and there, saying like, "Oh, you guys are doing great.
You're doing great." Yeah. Oh, I love it. We appreciate it, Vince. Thanks for tolerating us. That's a really good word for that.
Yeah.
Dude, so we did meet with Vince Sherry. Really grateful for him to come through the Dun.
Yeah, it was cool. I was impressed by his effort to understand the history of running, both in the U.S., just with the stories that he shared about runners that he idolized and stuff, Bob Kennedy.
Yeah.
But also, like, specific to this area, he really seems like he makes an effort and an ongoing effort to, like, connect with the people that know the history so that he can learn more about the history of running in this area. Like, he really knew his stuff.
Yeah. He had some recommendations for future pods, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Could see how it'd be really easy to make this a run cast, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to get Nat White.
Yeah.
Natra Neal.
Natra Neal. We had Natra Neal on the books, huh?
Yeah. But COVID threw that off.
Gosh, man. Once the CVD passes on, maybe we can get Natra Neal back on the books. Yeah.
What stuck out to you? What did you like?
Man, well, a lot. I really just enjoyed meeting with Vince, and then I got to go back to Run with Rivs, right? Like his involvement in that, and just when he was describing the process of how it built, and then the success. There was something about the way he said. He was like, yesterday I just dropped off this check for like $194,000. I was like, wow. Like, he just seemed surprised by the momentum that had developed.
Yeah.
And then with that, something that really stuck out was he was talking about how this probably isn't just like this, and that it could potentially roll into something where that becomes something that fits Riv's vision for passing it forward.
Yeah.
Giving money forward.
Giving to other communities or other causes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll look for Run with Rivs and how it evolves and develops over time.
Yeah. Also, he was saying that the donate link is still there. So we'll have that linked in our show notes. So you can go down and donate to that. And how cool would that be if that became like an annual thing where Rivs had a say in what cause that was being donated towards?
Yeah, no doubt. And again, the reach of the influence of that spans the globe.
Oh, yeah. It's just been incredible.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
No doubt.
Yeah. So thanks for dropping knowledge and tolerating us.
tolerating and dropping names.
Saint Vincent de Sherry.
Yeah, remember that?
That was a good moment.
Less
too.
than impressed.
That was another highlight too. Is unfortunately you all couldn't see that in real time, but when Cody brought him into the show and introduced him as Saint Vincent de Sherry, nothing.
You know,
I don't know that he was amused.
I was hoping there was something. Again, I was trying to look at the other side of the room in the reflection of the window or somehow through the back of my head. But the silence was really
telling.
Maybe we could go back and listen to the audio and just see if there's a chuckle or something. Like we could just maybe like single out his mic.
Yeah, no, I looked at the sound signatures.
There's nothing?
Nothing.
You know, it is kind of fun to just bring someone on and see if you can throw them off their game a little bit, right?
Well, are you saying that you threw him off his game or he threw you off your game?
No, that's what I'm saying is I made an effort. He just countered, man.
Yeah.
I got smoked.
Put you in a place.
Yeah. And Senseman calls us out on throwing our weight around with some books.
Yeah.
However, you know, I did think that the Wild Horse 6 was a nice touch.
He was pretty complimentary about that. He
was.
did use tattered as one of the adjectives for it though.
And it followed up by, and I respect that because you've put in the work.
Well, I think that's the nice side of old Vince.
Yeah, thank you, Vince.
That's maybe one other thing to say. He really does have just such a soft side. He'd be a really cool middle school science teacher.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
Man, kudos to him for doing that.
Yeah.
Also, we got to find us a producer to get us a nice die cut sticker to get on the van, huh? Or should we just stick with the crayon?
Well, I think, aren't you our producer? I'm really looking forward to the crayon on the "Hello, my name is" tag.
I don't know that Vince will go for that. It sounded like, well, given if you look at the van, what it looks like.
How good it looks.
It looks like there's some standards. I don't know that.
Well, he said flat out there was. Yeah. But also, I would love to see what you created.
I'll come up with something super fun.
Yeah. That surprised me, too, when you brought that up. I didn't know you were going to pander to get a sticker for a podcast.
Oh, man. Yeah.
On his run van.
Yeah. Such a cool van. But, I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff on there. But, you know, I have no shame, huh?
I guess not.
Just no shame.
Yeah. You call him St. Vincent de Sherry, get nothing, and still end up pandering to get a sticker on his
Can we
van.
get a sticker on that joint? Our wide-reaching podcast. Yeah.
What a tolerant person. Well,
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Huge hashtag nice shout for Vince for coming through. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was a good interview. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Why don't you take us out by shouting us out?
No doubt. You can always hit us up on the internets. We got www.beyondflag, flag spelled.
FLG.
And then don't forget that .com afterwards. We're also on the Instagram, IG.
The IG.
Trying to instigate a following. So you can hit us up on there, beyond_flag. And we're on the tweeters.
On the tweeters.
How many followers as of this moment do we have, Dana?
I believe 35. Like we're in the mid 30s.
Instigating.
We did it.
Following, man.
We did it.
There.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to put a party on the horizon, some sort of distanced party, because we crossed 35 on the tweeter.
Yeah. Really go through phases on how motivated
our social media involvement is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that we've had anything this past week before this recording.
So hit us up so that we can get remotivated to
we
engage the socials.
Reconnect to that virtual world. In the meantime,
take care.
Love yous.